Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here to talk to you about The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is not a book review. I'm not going to contextualize the plot or talk to you about the characters or my initial thoughts. I'm here basically just talking about the presence of color in The Great Gatsby and the meaning of color, all the different colors. So if you don't know, The Great Gatsby was published in 1925 and it is one of the most important novels in the American canon of the 20th century. It is obviously filled with references to cars, advertisements, jazz, alcohol, money, everything that screams modernism or a new era known simply as the Roaring Twenties. Besides all of those symbols, and I'm not going to look at them, I'm not going to analyze them. This book has sort of a color scheme. So each symbol obviously has a meaning, but colors have meaning too, and they contribute to the development of the plot. So colors here work as a sort of a set of warnings to the reader and the characters about something that is about to happen. And it is something that you don't get when you read this the first time. I didn't pay close attention to colors when I read this the first time until my professor suggested, because I just thought it would be interesting. So I actually looked at this and I analyzed The Great Gatsby at university. That was a while ago, but I just thought about it and I thought it would be an interesting video. So I have my notes here, and if I'm not looking at the cameras because I'm looking at my notes, I will share my list of references with you, and I'll have the quotes here in the video. Obviously the page number might change because this is my copy, this is my edition, and if you have a different edition, probably your page number might be different, but I'll try and add the chapters if I remember. We have a very obvious light versus dark concept, and we can see that with a character and a very important place in the book. So we start with Gatsby. Gatsby's clothes, Gatsby's house, Gatsby's parties. Nick Carraway, our narrator, describes Gatsby as being a patron of recurrent light, because his clothes are a mix of light summery colors, and he sort of presents himself to the reader as being someone very sober, clean character, a leader in a way. So to quote from the book on page 89, "While we admire, he brought more, and the soft rich heap mounted higher, shirts with stripes and scrolls and plaids in coral Napo green and lavender and faint orange and monograms of Indian blue." His clothes sort of match a lot with his appearance and his childlike attitude and personality, because if we think about his mansion, and at some point it is compared to the World's Fair, a circus, a place of fantasy, and representing basically what Gatsby wants in life, we can look at his clothes and his attitude, his house, his parties, as not just something that he likes. It's not an aesthetic, it's not an expression of his taste, but what he actually wants in life, and the future he wants with Daisy. It sort of represents their life together. So I'm actually going to quote something that I read by Aping Zhang. In contrast, the parties thrown by Gatsby are staged for a different purpose. Despite the magnificence and size of attendance, they are neither socializing nor entertaining occasions to Gatsby. They are only part of his hopeless scheme to attract the attention of his dream girl, who happens to live in a mansion across the bay. He knows Daisy lives in this fairy tale world with no consequence, and he wants to show her that he can give her that, and actually live in this reality, but in a fairy tale nonetheless. But obviously we need something to contrast, and that's when the reader is presented to the Valley of Ashes. This place is drowned in smoke and dust and echoes the influence of T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland, predominating the grayish and black color tone, finally taking the position as the contrasting symbol against Gatsby's lightness and pureness. I'm going to quote again from the book on page 26. This is a valley of ashes, a fantastic farm where ashes grow like wheat into ridges and hills and grotesque gardens, where ashes take the forms of houses and chimneys and rising smoke, and finally with the transcendent effort of men who move dimly and already crumbling through the powdery air. It is curious, but obviously it was done on purpose. The Valley of Ashes stands between West Egg and East Egg, so it is impossible for you to reach either place without having to go through this grotesque site. A possible understanding for this could be the dreadful symbol that the arrival of East Egg carries. Daisy and Tom live there together, supposedly happy, and Gatsby getting to, a step closer to Daisy. So as a result, the journey between West Egg and East Egg, passing through the Valley of Ashes, transports a possible future consequence, a tragedy, if you will. As it is the darkest symbol in the novel, the valley warns the readers, but also the characters, of an upcoming tragedy. The character's presence in East Egg, having to go through the Valley of Ashes, carries a sort of an announcement of a tragedy that is about to happen. But because East Egg has a deep, important meaning to Gatsby himself only, it is fair to assume that this calamity will fall upon him and his plans to, get together with Daisy and spending the rest of their lives together. On the other hand, we can also think of the Valley of Ashes as a parody of the valley mentioned in the Bible in Psalm 23, which I'm going to have here, but I'm also going to read it. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He heads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So this biblical reference might have influenced Fitzgerald's writing when describing the Valley of Ashes as a possible second valley of the ashes of death. If we think about the passage in the Bible, you are with me, we can relate this to a second major symbol in the Valley of Ashes, and that is Dr. T.J. Heckelberg's billboard. There's this huge billboard with eyes and spectacles just looking at everyone that is passing by. So behind the golden spectacles, we have blue eyes just observing anything that happens. This could be a sort of a metaphor for the presence of God in the valley, because the eyes are seeing everything. And again, I'm going to quote on page 26, "But above the grey land and the spasms of bleak dust which drift endlessly over it, you perceive after a moment the eyes of Dr. T.J. Heckelberg. The eyes of T.J. Heckelberg are blue and gigantic. Their irises are 1 yard high. They look out of no face, but instead from a pair of enormous yellow spectacles which pass over a non-existent nose. The blue eyes might represent, in a way, the promise of catching one's dream, as meaning the sky has no limit and Gatsby's dream is not measurable, or at least its length. But at the same time, the spectacles are golden. They're yellow, and the color yellow is very important in the Great Gatsby because the tone is different. The most aggressive and practical example I can give you is the one when Gatsby's car is described, because at first Gatsby's car is described as being cream color, a creamy light shade of yellow, but then later on in the novel it is just plain yellow car. And the reason behind this change might be because yellow is often connected with money, thus corruption, materialism, consumerism. When Gatsby's car kills Myrtle Wilson, the color is no longer a cream light shade, but a raw tone of yellow. So if we think about yellow as, related to money and corruption, we can understand the change of the color of the tone in Gatsby's car after the accident. And also because Myrtle's blood is all over the car now, and it just adds to the title, The Car of Death. On the one hand, we have the change of tone, but at the same time we can look at the car, even though this is only about color, but I just thought that I would mention this as well. The car as the modern symbol of machinery and just development, the development of society, transcends to an instrument of violence after such a vile crime, because after killing Myrtle, they also sort of kill the possibility of Daisy and Gatsby getting together. Now, about the red color, Daniel Schneider brings out the reader's attention to Gatsby's collection of rubies. Nick actually talks about the jewels as representing his broken heart, and once again we are raising the possibility of a future tragedy at the end of the novel, but we're not supposed to know this yet. These symbols are present throughout the novel. This part about the red rubies, this is on page 65, if I'm not mistaken. So meaning that if you're not paying close attention, and it's very normal that you don't really pay attention to the colors or their meaning when you're reading the Great Gatsby for the first time, you might miss some of these things, but afterwards, if you reflect upon it, you are going to see that, okay, this was actually important. There was a meaning for this after all. The most important color and the most debated color is green because of the green light which Gatsby stares at. The green light is across the bay from Gatsby, and it represents Daisy's mansion because it is at the end of Daisy's dock. So Gatsby looks at the green light as if looking at Daisy, and it reminds him of what he's fighting for. The reader can look at this as being a sort of a premise that Gatsby is going to accomplish his challenge, and he's going to get Daisy back. However, the concept of the green light can exceed its original meaning, because Daniel Schneider actually calls our attention to the fact that green is a mixture of yellow and blue. So we have yellow, again, the raw reality of capitalism and corruption, the consequences of corruption, and then we have blue as being the dreamy blue, the blue sky that has no limit. And obviously even Nick, when the green light is first mentioned, Nick doesn't even know what that means, but later on obviously we are Nick and we are trying to understand its meaning. Moreover, the usual understanding of the green light is that if Gatsby had not followed it, nothing would have happened. Nothing tragic, at least. So in a way, the pursuit of Gatsby's dream is a metaphor to the American dream, because it is not measurable itself. However, we have the author gives Gatsby plenty of warnings regarding his pursuit and what could happen, but he's just apparently he's not looking at this at the universe. So the universe is giving him all of these hints, but he's not paying close attention. Also, we could look at green, not just because of the green light, and something that people sometimes forget is the contrast, because in West Egg, green is very important due to the gardens and the countryside, and it is less obnoxious because we don't have the fumes coming from the Valley of Ashes. So it sort of looks as sort of a fairy tale land, just a place that everybody's happy, there are no consequences, nothing bad is going to happen. So the dream, basically. Also, and something that I completely missed the first time I read this book, and someone had to call my attention to this, is the color white. The first time Daisy and Jordan Baker are mentioned, they are sitting on the couch, relaxing, just talking, and they are dressed in white. And white being the purest color, light, innocent, but we understand that the choice of this color is a satirical move by Fitzgerald, because these characters are shown as characters in a fairy tale, another reality, completely unaware of anything around them or how the world works. Daisy is Gatsby's dream, so it is unreal, and at the same time she wears white as a symbol of her foolishness and unrealistic existence. She is basically living her life as if there are no consequences for her. Nothing she can do is going to hurt her in the end. And again, Gatsby's aesthetic appeals to her because of that. It's interesting that we look at this novel and we can read this novel, and we have to remind ourselves to look at the other colors, because the color green, because of the green light, is so discussed that sometimes we forget that we have the blue and the yellow and the red and the white as important symbols in this novel, and they also have a lot of hints about what is going to happen. So Sometimes you just forget all about it. I would say that this novel is constructed as an escalator because each symbol or color is connected or connects the reader to another symbol and another color. And this type of writing and conception could only be possible in modernism. I mean, the modern period just allowed authors to try out new approaches to, to writing. It made us, the readers, look deeper at various hints so we could understand what the author meant, and just made us reflect more about the novel and obviously also about us. I hope that it was clear. I don't know why I'm so nervous filming this. I think that it's just because it's very different from what I usually film. I'm just really scared that I'm just all over the place and I'm not making any sense. But you tell me if you enjoyed this video, if you would like me to do more videos like this in which I analyze something like symbols or character or anything you want. Let me know, and I would be happy to do that because I actually missed the research bit and I had a lot of fun preparing this video. So I really hope you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.